Good evening, students and friends. Today we are going to have a session on 22 laws of branding by Al Rice and Jack Trout in their famous book. And they are going to outline what is the business and brand strategy and how the brands have captivated their way to the top and how some of them have not been able to do so. So let's start with the session and we have a presentation on that. So let's share it. Yes. As now on the screen, the 22 immutable laws of brands and positioning. The first law, the law of expansion. The power of a brand is inversely proportional to its scope. Marketers constantly run branding programs in conflict with people's perception of their brands. Customers want brands that are narrow in scope and distinct by a single word. The shorter, the better. So the first one was Chevrolet, and it used to be the largest selling brand in the US way back in the 1986. But then things changed, and it is no longer the market leader. Second, the law of contraction. A brand becomes stronger when you narrow its focus. For example, Starbucks coffee. Wow. In a few years, Starbucks has become one of the US, maybe the world's best known brands in coffee. Narrowing its focus is not the same thing as carrying a limited line. Starbucks offers 30 different types of coffee. Third, the law of publicity. The birth of a brand is achieved with publicity, not advertising. Advertising is best used to maintain a brand, but it's very difficult and expensive to launch a new brand for advertising alone. The best way is to first be in the new product or a service category and be the attendant publicity. The example, the body shop. Anita Rodriguez created the concept of body shop way back in 1976 around the concept of national cosmetics. And it has been a great hit because it uses pure ingredients, no animal testing, and it's been kind to the environment and indigenous. So it has been well accepted mostly all over the world. Fourth, the law of advertising. Once upon a brand needs advertising to stay healthy. So initially, you need publicity to nurture it. To grow, you need advertising. Goodyear, consistent theme of Goodyear, and I think over the year it has been number one in tires. So who makes the first tires? Most people think Goodyear's because it is the number one. The law of the bird. A brand should try to own a bird in the mind of the customer. For example, Mercedes stands for prestige, Volvo for safety, Phoenix for tissue, Xerox for photocopier, Tata for trust. And here the example is also FedEx. In FedEx, you have a hidden arrow. You can spot it right there. FedEx Express becomes successful by becoming the first air cargo carrier by narrowing its focus on overnight delivery and therefore owning the word overnight in the customer's mind. Six, the raw credentials are critical ingredient in the success of any brand is faith, authenticity. The best claim of being the leading brand, product, or service in your category, because customers assume that if you're a leading seller, you must be good. Never forget leadership, however small the market. Don't get stupid to simply selling the benefits of the category. You need to rise to the occasion. Long-term effects of the leadership are important and valuable. Example, Coca-Cola. The campaign 1942, the only thing that tastes like Coca-Cola is Coca-Cola. It's the real thing. Was the real thing because it was number one in the Coca-Cola category way back in the 1980s. The law of quality. Quality is important, but brands are more in fact quality or no. In fact, most people have no idea as to what is real quality on a product or service. Is Rolex really better at keeping time than Timex? Or do you know? Well, we know that it's the prestige of owning a Rolex. It's a status symbol. Rolex has become the world's best known and best selling brand of luxury watches. Here, the law category. A leading brand should promote the product or service category, not the brand. They may be counterintuitive, but the best way for a brand leader to build the sales is to promote the category, not the specific brand. This happened way back in the early 80s in India when Maggie promoted the instant noodles. So the instant noodles, it was the number one category, and Maggie still holds the highest leading market share there. It's the first brand in the new category. It's for the meal market, jointly owned by Pink International and Romano. It's focuses on restaurant quality, food planning for takeout consumption. So, old example. Nine, the law of the name. In the long run, a brand is nothing more than a name, is it? Okay. Xerox, one of the world's most powerful brands, Xerox demonstrates most of their important branding, including being the first in its category. Unique, short, simple, memorable, so much to become generic for copy. However, when it went into computers, people were not able to accept it. And the law of extensions. The easiest way to destroy a brand is to blame on everything. There's an exception of this. Hello Kitty. You can put a label of Hello Kitty on almost anything and it would sell. Will Miller, the powerful marketing program Miller highlight here was gaining rapid market share on Budweiser. Budweiser's name is King of Beers. Then it produced a beverage of fine extensions and stopped Miller High Life Old. 11. The law of fellowship. In order to build the category, a brand should welcome other brands. Hard Rock Cafe, one of the best locations for number two brands across the street. The best place for brand Hollywood is right across the street from its biggest competitor. Both brands will benefit. The law of the generic. One of the fastest routes to failure is giving a brand a generic name. Generic names like wine coolers, for example, do not strongly position the product or service within the category and thus are liable to confuse the customers and therefore not make it memorable and strong the brand. Blockbuster Video is a good brand name, while General Video Rental is not. 13. The law of the company. Brands are different. Companies are companies. There's a difference. Brand names should always take precedence, no company names. So consumers buy brands. They don't buy companies. So when a company name is used alone as a brand name like General Electric, Xerox, Intel, customers see these names as brands. Type. Does type need a product corporate endorsement? Maybe not. But it needs support for the trade so that trade can carry it and it can get web shelf space and therefore customers can buy it from these traders, from the wholesalers, from the retailers, and therefore have Tide as washing detergent in their home for their laundry. The law of sub brands. While branding builds sub branding, extensions can destroy. Example, Holiday Inn. Holiday Inn had become such a mega brand, the non of sub brands like Holiday Inn Express, Holiday Inn Select, Holiday Inn Fun, Gold, and all. The sub branding is eroding the power of the core brand. Please remember the power comes from the parent brand, and when you have too many brands here, then the power is diffused, and therefore everybody becomes weaker. Law of siblings. There's a time and a place to launch a second brand. The key to a family approach is to make each sibling a unique individual brand with its own identity. Identity. That's the gap of focus of brand is to create a own identity. So we call it identity, call it as part of this creating a distinct place in the mind of the customer. That is positioning. Keyword is positioning. This is the urge to keep the brand's family look. You need to make each bag different and distinct as possible. Acura, when Honda wanted to introduce an expensive car, it called the brand Honda Plus or Honda Ultra. It developed a new brand called Acura, which became a huge success in the US markets. As a matter of fact, it became the largest selling important luxury brand in the US. Comma. The law of the shape. Brand's logo should be designed to fit the eye. So there's a lot of research of this. So of what should be the proportion between the height and width, the depth, and so on. Added shape of a logo should be 2.25 wide and 1 unit high. Here, the customer sees two eyes peering out of its head, like looking out from a windshield or mobile. For maximum visual impact of the logo, Davis is almost perfect. The RTs is too vertical. 17. The law of the color. Brand should use a color that is the opposite of the major competitor. Tiffany's box. It's a distinctive Robbins like blue. All Tiffany boxes are blue. Tiffany had used a variety of colors for its boxes. It would have lost a marvelous opportunity for this brand with reinforcement with a distinctive color. 18. The law of borders. There are no barriers for global branding. Brand no bad. Anakin exports this beer. Anakin is from which country? It's from Netherlands. To more than about 70 different countries. In most of these countries, it's the largest selling high price beer, locally brewed beer in more than 50 countries. The law of consistency. Brand is not built overnight. Success is measured in decades, not in years. Say. BMW has its ultimate driving machine for 25 years. What's more than that? Aim is strategy by changing its advertising agents, still focusing on its USP of having a hand position, luxury and performance going alongside. 20th, the law of change. Brands can be changed only infrequently and very carefully. Citibank changed from a foreign brand to a consumer bank, becoming a global consumer bank. 21st, the law of mortality. No brand will live forever. Sometimes good act. So we know good act. 22, the law of singularity. The most important aspect of brand is its single-mindedness focus. Volvo. Volvo has been selling safety for over 35 years. In the process, it has become the largest selling European car. So sometimes always in the US and outselling BMW models. So what happens is if you're strongly entrenched, like Kodak was more entrenched in Philips. So now when they're having digital cameras and now mobiles, so it does not fit into any of this scheme. So it's difficult because you are sometimes seen as outdated. So therefore, you have to be evolving the eyes of the customer. That's how things are. And sometimes we need to change faster than the competition. Let's say Nokia versus Samsung. All right. Thank you so much for this session. I'm sure you have got more ideas. And thanks to Albright and Jack Trout for providing us with so much of research uh, and their famous book. So thank you all.